Beep, 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 beep. Live from Wellston, Georgia, it's another episode of the Wartown Times. Welcome back to another edition of the Wartown Times, where we are reviewing this excellent new streaming show called City Council. And we want to pick right back up where we left off, but for full transparency, we are not recording from Wellston, Georgia. We're actually recording from the great state of New Jersey, where corruption and politics is a little bit more professional up here, or so I'm told. But yeah, me and Tiny Link and MJ, the acoustic over here, we are just a stone's throw from Ideal Beach, which has the most beautiful view of the New York skyline that you could possibly imagine. And I love to go out there whenever I'm up here in New Jersey in the New York area and go there to pray and meditate. It's quite fantastic. And so I am very happy to be bringing you this edition of the Wartown Times from the Puma Pit. Thank you, Dave DePuma, for allowing me to record in your wonderful facility. Now, getting back to the action, if you guys recall, last time at City Council meeting, where we left off, character Lashley and I believe Bibb were calling for some completely original new idea that has never been thought of before, and that was to do a forensic audit. Right. And so before we actually get back into the action where Madam Mayor had called a young lady from the audience who actually does financing for the city of Warner Robins to explain why, a forensic audit would kind of just be a waste of the taxpayers' money. I got a bunch of feedback from people who are viewing these reviews of the Wartown Times, informing me that I probably needed to go back in time and take a look at some of the history of Lashley and Bibb. And before we go any further, let's just see what it was that was sent to me. And here we go.
A forensic audit was the hot topic of discussion during Warner Robins City Council races, especially with newly elected councilmen Charlie Bibb and Kevin Lashley.
So you're probably asking why I would want to show a headline about a forensic audit that we're just talking about. However, you should note that this was 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Audit that.
Sarah Hammond tells us the latest on that potential audit of city finances and what might happen next.
That's right. Charlie Bibb and Kevin Lashley are still planning on that forensic audit happening now that they're on a newly created finance committee.
So we need to take note that character Lashley and Bibb have at least wanted to do some forensic audit of something for at least the past 2 years. So it's like, take note of that, okay? Because it's kind of key.
Along with some of the other people that are running, we're going to ask for a forensic audit.
First thing I'm going to work on is calling for a forensic audit.
Both men say they still expect that audit to happen. It just might look a little different.
What we are learning going from candidate to actual councilman is where we want to laser focus this forensic audit.
Laser.
Legally.
And while it would be good to see a forensic audit of the entire city government, there's no way we can afford to do that.
Forensic audits can cost tens of thousands of dollars or more. So Bibb says the three men want to save by looking at specific departments.
It's something that we've started. I'm excited. This committee is just a start to dive into that, to find out the process of making that happen.
Lashley says there's no specific timeline on this, but he says he does hope to have some answers by the end of his first term. And both men say this is extremely important to them.
So we know for a fact that at least for the past 2 years, these two guys have been doing like a potato sack race together to audit something. So it's like best friends forever.
Forensic audit.
Forensic audit.
Ask for a forensic audit.
Forensic audit.
Ask for a forensic audit.
Forensic audit.
Forensic audit.
Forensic audit.
Forensic audit.
Forensic audit.
Ask for a forensic audit. Ask for a forensic audit.
Forensic audit.
Ask for a forensic audit.
Forensic audit. There's no way we can afford to do that.
Now, I love Radiohead's Body Snatchers, but if I ever went to a Radiohead concert and the only song that they played was Body Snatchers over and over again, I would ask for my money back. And we could pay for a forensic audit without it, having the taxpayers foot the bill if we each ask our individual city council members, for me it's Curtis, to make a motion that in the event that we do a forensic audit on this Vietnam Veterans Memorial and some welcome center, that it come out of city council pay. Would you vote for that? I don't know. Anyway, let's get back into the action where we left off last time with Madam Mayor calling the finance lady, I think her name is Holly, I'm pretty sure her name is Holly, stepping up to the podium to address this insanity of an unnecessary forensic audit.
I invite Ms. Holly Brusser, please approach and give us your feedback and your thoughts on the motion that's on the floor, please, ma'am.
Thoughts about the forensic audit?
Well, anything that you're thinking.
Well, I would like to speak about the funds for the visitor center, and you are lacking a little bit of information. I think that's caused some confusion. These are not SPLOST funds. They originally were not SPLOST funds. They were hotel motel tax funds. And it was back in October of 16, so Councilman Holmes may be the only one who remembers when this happened. But they were transferred into the SPLOST. We had already purchased this building across the street that we call the bank building.
Now, we do want to make a point right here that Miss Holly is about to make, and a good citizen by the name of David Reed let us know that the building we referenced in the last Wartown Times is not the actual building where the Welcome Center was supposed to be. It's another building directly in front of it. So if you happen to see the other video, it's the building in front of the video that we circled. But that doesn't really change the fact that there was a building that was already there were already plans for that building that is already there. It's already built to be the Welcome Center at some time. So continue, Holly.
For these funds, they had anticipated using half of that building for a visitor center, a downtown visitor center. And so that was the premise that these funds were transferred under. So fast forward a few years, and there are currently no plans to use that building as a visitor center. I can't speak as to why those plans fell through, but it was so the funds were transferred to reimburse for half the cost of the building that had already been purchased. So it wasn't originally a SPLOST project, not that as a visitor center. But the visitor center, there is a project for the visitor center in the SPLOST funds, but it was not that building. So all my recommendation to the mayor was just that since we are not using that building as a visitor center, there's no plans to use it as a visitor center, that those funds should go back into the visitor center fund. They were collected as hotel motel tax and put into that fund originally, and I'm just recommending that they go back, especially since there's been a lot of talk about the visitor center, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, so that the money would be back, made whole, and we would know how much money we have to work with. And I feel like we do know how much money we have to work with. I've outlined it for Councilman Lashley, I've outlined it for the mayor. We do know how much money we have. We know what it was, spent on. I don't know why the plans changed, but apparently they did, and we're having to go back and revisit that.
So there's a lot that you can glean from what she's saying. I mean, she echoes my curiosity, which is why have the plans changed for the particular building that's already there? Why did the plans change from it being the Welcome Visitor Center or whatever to not anymore? Like, why? She doesn't know. She can't speak to why the plans changed. And this is something that's really gnawing at me, because in a city that is filled with blight and buildings that are dilapidated and not being used, why would you want to spend taxpayers' money to build a completely new structure for a visitor center, welcome center, that is, okay, I mean, I guess some people might want that who have a vested interest in, I don't know, contracts, but why would you want to pay more money to build something when you can simply use structures that are already there? This is something that is really bothering me, because when I drive through the city, I see a ton of buildings that could be used, like the regional chambers. I don't know what that building is used for, but I'm sure it could be used for something. But so that's kind of what I'm getting from what she's saying. She's being polite, but she's saying she doesn't understand why we would want to be building a welcome center when there are facilities that could do that. The other thing is that she's saying basically she's outlined where the money is and how much is there to Character Lashley and to the mayor, and one of those two people didn't seem to get it because they were lacking information, which yeah, she's basically saying that Character Lashley's ignorant, but she's not saying it like I'm saying it. But yeah, I mean, so it's like, basically her overall thing is that doing a forensic audit is ridiculous because there's no money missing, and she's outlined that. So continue.
It had nothing to do with the original money that was put in the squash, correct?
No, it came from the hotel motel tax. And I have a copy of the original resolution that was done in October of 16. I'll leave that for you. Maybe that might help you understand that we're just
Yeah, I
trying
read
to.
that one. Now, how often do we commingle outside funds with SPLOST funds?
Well,
I don't know. How many times do you and Bib commingle independent thought?
it is allowable to transfer money into the SPLOST fund from other funds for a project.
Okay.
But like I said, these funds were to be used for a visitor center, and we're not using that building as a visitor center.
Correct.
So we're really just trying to reverse what was done before.
Okay.
So the money was just sitting there.
Yes.
That was my question. So we never used the money, the $450,000. We never used it on this building. We just put the money in there from the hotel motel tax. So
Well,
it was
like I
actually never
said,
spent.
when it was transferred, they said, okay, we're going to reimburse the SPLOST fund for half the cost of the building. But the building had already been purchased. So, I mean,
Again, she's emphasizing that the building had already been purchased. Why are we worried about building another building?
Down to 700,000. Was it 700?
it was 450 that we transferred, 450,000.
But you just said something about, I know 450 is not half of 700, but I just saw something on the resolution here that mentioned 700,000. It said that that there was some sort of original amount of 700,000. Second paragraph. Resolution also designated that 700,000 of the lodging tax funds designated for construction of the visitor center be used for the renovation of the 610A Watson Boulevard Visitor Center.
Right.
So originally there was 700,000 from hotel motel, and we only spent 250,000 of it.
No, the 700,000, if you read that, it started out was in a different fund, not the SPLOST fund. It was in the visitor center fund.
Which came from the hotel motel tax.
Right.
Okay. So we moved 700,000.
No, we moved 450,000.
So we never moved the whole 700. Thank you.
No.
That's what I was asking. And so the 450 was moved. It was never used. So now we just moved it back and we voted to approve it.
Correct.
All right. So now the question is, if we vote to audit this particular project, I don't know if is it an account we're going to audit, a program? What would that be considered?
Well, I guess you could audit the project.
Okay. So you wouldn't audit an account, because I know there's multiple accounts. Does this project have its own account?
No, it doesn't have its own bank account. We have SPLOST funds separated in Georgia Fund 1.
Right.
I guess you could,
But in the city checkbook, I know it's not a different account, but there's a fund number. There is like a separate account number.
there's a designated account number.
Right. So is that what we're asking to audit, that designated account number? Or is there two designated account numbers? Is there a designated account number for this and then a designated account number for the Veterans Memorial?
These are really poignant and relevant questions that you're asking, Councilman Lawrenson, and you probably should have asked these questions before you voted for the motion to do a forensic audit.
There is a separate account designated for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial.
Okay. So everything that we spent out of those accounts is what we're talking about auditing. And I'm asking the council this.
I believe that, and Councilman Lashley, please chime in, but my recollection is that the motion was to bid out the forensic audit on the SPLOST 2012 funds regarding your Vietnam Veterans Memorial and the Visitors Information Center. But Councilman Lashley,
I'll amend it. I would like to see an audit of the entire project for the Visitor Center and the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. You can look at just the sheets that I have here. You have a Fund 34, a Fund 20. You do have the SPLOST parts, which let's see, I'm assuming the actual funds there. Actually, it just has a GL number for the Vietnam Veterans Park funds.
That's in the 2012 SPLOST.
Yeah, so, I mean, from what I'm seeing is that we might want to look into the entire project itself, the hotel motel tax, where the money Because that one in and of itself is where the payment that we made out to ICB on September 30th for $191,446 came from.
Okie dokie now, for you regulars of the Wartown Times, this is yet again another time when this company ICB has been mentioned, which, I don't know, it sounds like some kind of a digestive issue, you know what I mean? But ICB has been mentioned before, and what Character Lashley just said is that in the past September, this company ICB was paid $191,000 for something we'll get to here shortly. So, wow, ICB is getting paid. But this makes me ask a question because, as we saw earlier, it appears that Character Lashley and Bib have been simpatico on this forensic audit and probably simpatico on a lot of other things. But if you recall, in the previous city council meeting, uh, Bib continuously said, who brought those plans? What was that company that brought us those plans? What was that company's name? Gosh darn it, I can't recall the name of that company. I cannot recall who we paid $191,000 to. Who was it? Now, I find that very hard to believe that Character Lashley can spout off $191,000 to ICB, but his partner in potato sack races, Bib, can't seem to recall that we, the city, that's taxpayers, paid a company called ICB $191,000 for something. I call bull malarkey, Bib.
For the visitor center.
Okay, so.
What was that for?
That was for ICB. That was payment to ICB for the renderings that we also.
For the great
For the design.
Yeah, the design renderings.
Did you hear that, Bib? What was that for? It was for your beautiful plans. Almost $192,000 paid to ICB for your beautiful plans, but you can't remember the name of the company. We, the taxpayers of the city of Warner Robins, paid almost $192,000 for sketches to a company called ICB. Okay.
So therefore, we need to concern ourselves with those two projects because they're intertwined.
Yes.
They are intertwined. At this point, they are.
Thank you, Holly, for pointing out that they are intertwined. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial, State Memorial, and the Welcome Center Visitor Center are intertwined at this point, which means that possibly if the intelligent city council members who actually care about our city take some action, then we can divorce these two things so that it's not a confusion, that one thing is not an anchor on the state memorial. But that's just kind of what I got from it. So thanks, Holly, for that one. Let's go on.
So does this require a forensic audit, a review, a regular audit? Holly, what's your...
Well, my recommendation would be a review. A forensic audit implies that there's been some kind of a crime. And I mean, I don't think there's any money missing. I've outlined where the money was spent. If you have some questions about the procedure for how we got to those expenditures, I mean, you could review that. But I mean, I think we know where the money was spent.
Okay.
So would you like to amend that to a review?
Yeah, I'd like to definitely then, if we're going to consider it that way, it needs to be an independent review.
Again, Holly, thank you for pointing out that a forensic audit implies that there's some type of a crime. And I like how Character Lashley says, oh, if we're going to consider it that way, consider words the way that words actually mean? Jesus. And we get reviewed every year anyway. So it's like more and more as this unfolds, it's like even the idea of having a forensic audit, which costs tens of thousands of dollars, comes from the minds of people who don't really care how taxpayers' money is spent, period. I mean, get a library card, for God's sake. And Robert's Rules of Order, before Mize just goes Will Smith on you.
Well, I would say this, that we have a review every year that we pay for.
Who is we? Can you please
Nickel
clarify who he is?
Causey's that, Nickel Causey
Mrs. Causey.
Association, they do a review on us every year and haven't caught some of the other stuff that we've done, so.
You talk about a Freudian slip. Bib just said that they do a review every year and they haven't caught some of the other stuff we have done. Play it back.
I mean,
An outside investigation would be great.
Yeah, as a starting point, I think just a complete review by an outside, I mean, whether we got a CPA firm that we have not dealt with on this, somebody come out, I mean, there's several others in the community that we could look at, or put it out for review through statewide, or if GMA or Middle Georgia Coalition, if they have some advice on it, I think the entire project itself needs to be reviewed, because we need to know exactly how much money is there, where it was spent, why we spent, what the plans were.
And what you just heard is the sound of the gurgling death of someone's best laid plans.
What the plans were, and not just, if we're looking at the same site with the same plans, I mean, we're looking at less than a year since we paid for the renderings. I just don't see why we're having to throw everything out when we can probably save that money by continuing forward with the plans, with note that changes will be made to certain things according to the recommendations of our Vietnam veterans.
Do you remember what I said about the Bible saying that out of the abundance of the heart the mouth speaketh? As his point degrades and he begins to babble, he goes back and forth about these plans. So I'm going to play that again for you to truly listen to what he's saying in correlation with the plans put forth by this ICB company and the changes that won't be made, may be made, or could be made, or won't be made by the Vietnam veterans who fought for this country before any of us were conceived. So listen to it again very carefully, please.
What the plans were, and not just, if we're looking at the same site with the same plans, I mean, we're looking at less than a year since we paid for the renderings. I just don't see why we're having to throw everything out when we can probably save that money by continuing forward with the plans, with note that changes will be made to certain things according to the recommendations of our Vietnam veterans.
So it seems to me, a viewer of the Wartown Times, that as character Lashley talks more, his true intent and agenda seems to be coming through. The writers are doing a really great job in making him reveal his motives here, it seems to me. And it seems that some of these motives are to block Madam Mayor from allowing a committee of Vietnam veterans to have a say-so in their own state memorial. So we know he did that. And then when she eloquently gets it passed through, he wants to slow the process down or stall the process down with some red herring of a forensic audit, not knowing what the word forensic means, or caring how much that would cost the city of Warner Robins. It also appears that what he's truly concerned about is these plans that the veterans haven't seen and the mayor hasn't seen and the people of Warner Robins hasn't seen. So it just seems that the last concern that character Lashley but Bibb have, and let's face it, most of City Council, the last concern that they seem to have is a state Vietnam Veterans Memorial and what the veterans actually have to say about that memorial, what it looks like, how it will be built, how it will function. It doesn't seem like that's his concern at all. And now this is where this is the part where Madam Mayor comes in to prove to us that not only is she the sharpest knife in this particular box, but she is cutting in favor of the people of Warner Robins. Now, my daddy always used to say, son, you're pretty smart, and let them know you're smart. But don't let them know exactly how smart you are. And this is something that I see in Madam Mayor, and this is why I respect her character in this season, because what she's about to do is basically put a exclamation point on everything that just came out of character Lashley's gullet. So listen to this and applaud her brilliance, because I certainly do. And I'm very thankful that she's the mayor of Wartown right now because of what she is about to do. So enjoy.
Question, is this motion you're asking to amend, to do a review, is a purpose to try to have us keep ICB on this project?
And she nailed it. She nailed it right on the head. Is the point of this amendment to try to keep ICB on this project? Good question, Madam Mayor. It's almost as if you're an attorney or something like that. So that was the most epic spike on character Lashley that has occurred so far. And let's hear what he has to say in response to this, because it's going to be it's got to be good, right? Here we go.
Question, is this motion you're asking to amend, to do a review, is a purpose to try to have us keep ICB on this project?
No, it has nothing to do with that at all. I'm more concerned with the amount of money that we've spent and have nothing to show for right now.
And if you buy that, I'll throw the Golden Gate in free. He came back like real quick with that. No, no, of course not. It's not. It has nothing to do with the contract from ICB, does it? Is that really though? Really? Oh, let's take a look at the internets and find out. So a quick Google search to ICB, or International City Builders, if you go to their site and kind of look at some of the things that they've actually built, one of the things that they have built for the city of Walltown is the Warner Robins Law Enforcement Center, which, ew, law enforcement? Who wants law enforcement? We want peace officers, because words matter. Law enforcement and peace officers are two totally different things. So ICB built this thing called the Warner Robins Law Enforcement Center, and it's like, ew. So that's a thing. I mean, that's what they built. I'm pretty sure they got paid a very hefty sum. So, certain city council members and, I don't know, the previous mayor, I guess ICB is their go-to. So, I mean, that is what it is. But, just a quick look at the Karma Police files, i.e., their Fashionboken. If you were to take a look at Councilman character Kevin Lashley's official government council person page, oh my God! Look at his Facebook banner. It's, I mean, of all things, it just so happens to be this ungodly, unsightly looking law enforcement center. And again, we don't want law enforcement, we want peace officers. There is a difference. And if you are wearing a badge and do not understand the difference, please pick up your Constitution and remember that you took an oath to it. So you need to understand that a law enforcement is not really a good thing. Being a peace officer is what we want. But it's just weird that Councilman Kevin Character Lashley on his official Facebook page has the image of this shrine to enforcing laws and the temple of ICB, apparently. It's just a little weird. So you have that going, and I don't know. I mean, is there a connection there? I don't know. I mean, who knows? It does seem a little odd that he would have the law enforcement center as his banner and not like City Hall or anything like that. Um, so, I mean, I don't know. What else does the internet say? Well, a lot of our fans who have been following this new streaming show, the Wartown Times, they point me in the right direction. They slip me little pieces of information and say, hey, check this out, check that out. And one of our favorite nuggets that came through was we were asked to take a look at an article that was published in April of 2018, April 5th of 2018, from WGXA.TV. Now, the reason I do want to preface this real quick is that what we do know is that character Kevin Lashley is a carryover from the Randy Toms administration, which is in the last season. It was the former mayor. So let's take a look at this article and see what it says and see if this goes any further with these beautiful plans that are being dissolved by Madam Mayor. So WGXA.TV says that in Warner Robins, Georgia, the Houston County NAACP has filed a formal complaint against Warner Robins Mayor Randy Toms, alleging multiple violations relating to his campaign, among other issues. The group wants a state audit of Tom's campaign contributions for the 2017 mayoral election. Through an open records request with the Georgia Government and Campaign Finance Commission, WGXA received a copy of the complaint that the NAACP filed. In it, the group's president, Reverend Ruth Jackson, claims that Mayor Toms violated campaign finance law and requests that the state look into it. The complaint alleges that Mayor Toms unfairly awarded a contract to International City Builders Incorporated, ICB, in 2018 because of donations that individual employees with that company made to his campaign. Say it ain't so. She goes on to say that both the owner of ICB and two employees donated a total of $7,500 to Mayor Tom's 2017 campaign. That another contractor offered a cheaper price for the project but didn't get the job to build the new law enforcement center. That a secret committee chose the contractor for the project and that the mayor's office wouldn't give details about the alleged committee to the Houston County NAACP. It goes on to say that Warner Robins improperly used City Hall for early voting in 2017, and that in 2013, Toms told a donor to give a campaign contribution to Southside Baptist Church instead of donating to his campaign directly, which would have exceeded the legal limit for contributions. The complaint alleges that this was done to repay the church for publishing Tom's book, Just a Fireman, in 2013. Kim DeMooney, the Warner Robins purchasing agent, outlined the steps for the selection of the bid listed in the complaint. She said that a selection committee, made up of several city employees, not including Mayor Toms, chose ICB for the project, which cost more than $200,000. The committee chooses contractors based on past experiences in the field, capability and timely manner, and their financial stability. DeMooney said she added that when the selection committee is in the process of choosing a company, their cost for a given project isn't included, but is instead revealed after the contractor is chosen. DeMooney and City Attorney Jim Elliott confirmed that Warner Robins did receive two bids for the project. They both said that ICB ultimately got it because the company scored high on the committee's individual assessment of the request for proposal. Daryl Long, president and owner of ICB, said in an email that, quote, ICB has had no communication from the NAACP concerning its complaint against Mayor Toms. ICB has never attempted to improperly influence the award of any public contract or influence the political views of its employees. In its complaint, the NAACP also alleges that the use of the City Hall for early voting was improper because the mayor works there. The complaint alleges that this presents a conflict and is a violation of the precinct laws, etc., etc., etc. So, like any good detective comic story, the plot thickens. So, you guys, what do you think? Do you think this is truly about what the Vietnam veterans won in their state memorial, or if the history goes back further than that with this company and the previous administration and the incumbent city council members? I don't know, but this is certainly got my attention. This new show, and I hope it has your attention. And what was that question again, Madam Mayor? Could you pop that one again?
Question, is this motion you're asking to amend, to do a review, is the purpose to try to have us keep ICB on this project?
No, it has nothing to do with that at all.
Okie dokie, nobody in the room believes that. So that's all the time that we have for this episode of the Wartown Times. We want to thank you for your time, for your attention. We want to thank you for liking, sharing, and subscribing our content, specifically the Wartown Times. Please do that. Please subscribe to all of our stuff. It really helps us out to continue doing what we are doing. We want to express to you that we complain a lot about the federal government and the politicians who happen to rise to the top, the scum that happen to rise to the top. And even if you don't live in Warner Robins, what we do want you to do is pay attention to what the activists here in Wartown are doing, and then superimpose it on your own community, because that is how we can take our country back, is at the local level. If we stop characters who serve their own self-interest from moving any further by doing this type of activism. And, it can really make a difference. And so please like, share, subscribe, tell all your friends about it. I mean, it's entertaining stuff, right? And it actually matters. So help us out. And, stay tuned for the next episode of the Wartown Times, because this city council meeting is the gift that keeps on giving. It gets way better. As for me and the little guy, and we're about to go down to Ideal Beach and play some sweet, sweet tunes to the city of New York as the sun rises above it. So until we see you again, stay well. Beep, 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 beep. Live from Wellston, Georgia, it's another episode of the Wartown Times.